I'm a straight dude, like unshakably straight. Or so I thought until my chest decided to go through second puberty. That night, I crept onto my super hot roommate's bunk and lifted my shirt. Liam, look at this, Shati. I got something awesome to show you. I had sneak attacked the campus health center earlier that day. Doctor pushed up his glasses, looking bored as hell. Secondary development caused by idiopathic hormonal chaos. Nothing life-threatening right now. Just watch and wait. My face twisted. DOC, seriously, this isn't like gonna kill me? The doctor pulled his hand back and nodded. You're fine. I finally chilled out a few days later. I actually got used to these 2 lumps on my chest. Not gonna lie. They were soft, bouncy, and felt kind of amazing to touch. Light bulb went off in my head. I needed to let my squad of virgin losers experience this. Brothers before hoes, right? If I got the goods, I gotta share the wealth. That night after lights out, I stealthily climbed onto Liam's bed. Liam is basically a robot. Perfect schedule, no late night gaming, sleeps on time. He's also the campus heartthrob. Rich, smart, handsome. I pulled back his privacy curtain and rolled in. Liam had his AirPods in, looking cold as ice. Seeing me crawl up, he took them out and stared at me silently. I grinned like an idiot. Liam, check this out. I yanked my pajama top up, flashing my chest. Look, my tits are growing. How about that? Perfect shape, right? I winked, leaning in close to his ear, whispering, am I a good bro or what? They just popped out a few days ago. You're the first one getting a VIP viewing. Liam was silent, like dead silent. Usually he's a man of few words, but tonight the vibe was weird thick. He didn't move for a long time. I started feeling awkward. My hand holding up my shirt slowly sinking. Suddenly, Liam reached out, stopping me from covering up. He gripped my wrist, satisfied, and yanked my hand back up, exposing my entire chest. Liam stared intense, focused, like he was authenticating a diamond. I muttered, it's real, dude. No silicone here. His fingertips landed softly on the edge, a tentative touch. Zap. A weak electric current shot down my spine. A numbing, tingly sensation flooded my body and I flinched. Liam pulled his gaze away and stared straight into my eyes. I squirmed. What? What's wrong, Liam? After a long pause, he sighed. Jax, are you this defenseless with everyone? I didn't get it. Huh? Liam continued, his voice low. Don't just show these to people and don't go blabbing about it. He let go of my wrist and fixed my pajama top. Get down. I'm going to sleep. Oh, okay. I didn't take his advice seriously. We're all dudes here. We compared DOC sizes in the locker room. So what's wrong with looking at a little chest meat? I actually planned to let all the boys get a feel, give them some worldly experience, and then hit the gym to turn these soft mounds into rock-hard pecs. Turns out my previous bulking attempts failed, but now God was helping me out. Haha, I'm gonna have the sickest pecs on campus. Every time I see my childhood best friend Tyler's ripped muscles, I get jealous. Speaking of Tyler, dude has been single for 20 years, wasted potential. He's hot jacked but gets 0 bitches. Pathetic. I decided right then I'm gonna bless my bro. Tyler is at the other campus. I had no classes the next morning, so I took the shuttle over to ambush him. Running on pure adrenaline, I dragged Tyler into an empty classroom. The second his lecture ended, Tyler looked annoyed as fuck. Why are you dragging me in here, Jax? I rolled my eyes and slapped the back of his head. Patience, dumbass. I'm showing you something good. I checked the hallway clear. I zoomed back to Tyler. I ripped my hoodie up. Tada surprise, motel fukar. I leaned into his space looking smug. Well, am I a good friend or what? Tyler's annoyance vanished. His eyes popped out of his head. He looked brain dead. Holy shit. I cracked up at his reaction. My chest jiggling with laughter. Ha ha ha, Tyler, look at your face. Tyler snapped out of it. Yanked my hand down aggressively. His face turning beet red. What the hell are you doing? What is going on with you? I stopped laughing and explained the medical situation. Basically, second puberty. I got racks now. I wiggled my eyebrows and rubbed my chest through the hoodie. You sure you don't want to test the merchandise? Feel super soft, bro. Tyler turned even redder. He reached out with his long arms and slammed my hood over my face. Fuck off. I'm not a pervert. He spun around and stormed out without looking back. I hopped off the desk and chased after him like a puppy. Kept bumping into his shoulder. Being annoying. Hey, seriously, last chance. I'm only offering because you're my boy. Once in a lifetime opportunity. Tyler covered his ears and speed walked. Fuck off. Fuck off. I'm not touching them. Who the hell wants to touch you? His reaction was a total buzzkill. This guy hits harder than anyone on the football field. Why is he acting like a Virgin Mary now? I stuck my tongue out at his back. Fine, don't touch. I'll find someone else. My dorm has 2 other idiots besides Liam. Back at the dorm, Mikey and Dave were screaming at their monitors neck deep in a game. Mikey, Dave, look what Daddy brought you. I laughed, stood between their chairs and whoosh, lifted my hoodie. Boom. Look, tits. Second puberty surprised. The air in the room froze. 2 pairs of eyes locked onto my chest like laser sights. What the fuck? Mikey finally found his voice, which cracked. Jax, did you get a sex change? Fuck you. I dropped my shirt, giving him a kick. I'm a pure man. It's just hormone chaos, doctor said. So I repeated the diagnosis. Mikey recovered, shock turning into pure curiosity. He rubbed his greasy hands together. So Jax, how do they feel like the real deal? He winked suggestively. Dave was nodding violently beside him. I puffed out my chest proudly. Hell yes, soft and bouncy if you don't believe me. I went to lift my shirt again. Cough, cold sound from the door. We all froze and turned. Liam was standing there. He looked colder than usual. Scary cold. His expressionless face sent a chill down the back of my neck. I awkwardly dropped my hand, feeling guilty for no reason. Mikey and Dave instantly sat up straight, smiling like suck UPS. They scrambled back to their keyboards like their asses were on fire. Liam ignored them. He tilted his chin at me. Jax. Outside. We stood on the small balcony at the end of the hall. Liam leaned against the railing, looking calm but dangerous. So you just ignored everything I said? I felt guilty but tried to act tough. Nah, I was just sharing with the brothers. Liam curled his lip. Jax, this isn't a contest to see who can piss the furthest. Your body is changing abnormality. You go around showing everyone. Have you thought about the consequences? What consequences? I shrugged. DOC said I'm fine. The doctor meant you aren't dying. Didn't mean you could treat them like a show and tell toy. Liam stepped closer, his voice vibrating with rare emotion. Have you thought about what happens if this spreads? How people will look at you, harass you if those 2 idiots talk or took photos? They wouldn't dare. The thought of photos freaked me out a little. Maybe not intentionally, but guys get excited and talk. Shot 1 tells 1010, tell 100. How are you gonna walk around campus when everyone is staring at your chest? Liam stared deep into my eyes. Jax, this is about your privacy and dignity. Take it seriously. Cover yourself up and protect yourself. His seriousness actually scared me straight thinking about it. He was right. I just thought it was hilarious and cool. I wanted to show off. I didn't think about the creepy side, being treated like a sideshow freak, being pointed at someone, actually trying to grab them. A shiver of fear hit me. The autumn wind cut across the balcony, carrying the scent of wet leaves and distant barbecue smoke from the fraternity houses. I wrapped my arms around myself instinctively, suddenly hyper-aware of my chest beneath the thin fabric of my hoodie. Liam's words hung in the cold air between us, heavier than I wanted to admit. I didn't think about it like that. I mumbled, my bravado deflating like a punctured basketball. The concrete beneath my sneakers suddenly became fascinating. I traced a crack with my toe, avoiding Liam's penetrating stare that seemed to see straight through every stupid decision I'd made in the past 48 hours. Liam exhaled slowly through his nose, the breath visible in the evening chill. He ran his fingers through his perfectly styled dark hair, messing it up in a way that somehow made him look even more attractive. The golden light from the hallway behind us cast shadows across his sharp jawline, highlighting the concern etched in the tight corners of his mouth. Look, I get it, Liam said finally, his tone softening just a fraction. You're freaked out about what's happening to your body. You're trying to normalize it by making it into a joke, by sharing it with people you trust. That's a defense mechanism. I understand that. He paused, studying my face with an intensity that made my stomach do weird flip-flops. But Jax, this isn't like getting a new haircut or a tattoo. This is your body going through something medical, something private. I nodded slowly, feeling about 3 inches tall. Behind us, through the window, I could see Mikey and Dave hunched over their gaming setup, their faces illuminated by the blue glow of their monitors. They were pretending to focus on their game, but I caught Dave glancing toward the balcony door at least twice. The whole situation suddenly felt less like a funny story, and more like a wake-up call I'd been too dumb to hear. You're right, I admitted, the words tasting bitter but necessary. I fucked up. I don't know, man. It's weird as hell having these things growing out of nowhere. I thought if I made it funny, if I shared it with my boys, it wouldn't feel so freaky. Liam's expression shifted slightly, something almost resembling sympathy flickering across his usually impassive features. He pushed off the railing and moved closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Something expensive and woodsy that probably costs more than my textbooks. His hand came up and for a second, I thought he was going to touch my shoulder, but he just gestured toward the door. Let's go back inside. You're shivering. I hadn't even noticed I was cold until he mentioned it. We walked back into the warmth of the hallway, the fluorescent lights harsh after the soft darkness of the balcony. Liam held the door open for me with his usual quiet courtesy, and I shuffled past him, suddenly exhausted by the emotional roller coaster of the day. Back in our dorm room, Mikey and Dave had cranked up the volume on their headsets, making exaggerated reactions to their game that were clearly designed to show they definitely weren't eavesdropping on whatever conversation had just happened outside. I appreciated the effort, even if it was transparent as hell. Liam went straight to his desk, pulling out his laptop with practiced efficiency. I climbed onto my bunk, flopping onto my back and staring at the ceiling. Someone had stuck glow-in-the-dark stars up there years ago, and they were starting to peel at the edges, creating a sad, half-hearted constellation that looked like it was giving up on life. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Tyler's name flashed across the screen. Tyler, dude, you good? Sorry I freaked out earlier. That was just unexpected AF. I stared at the message, my thumbs hovering over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to send back some snarky response about him being a prude, but Liam's words were still echoing in my head. I typed out a reply. Yeah, I'm good. Sorry for ambushing you with that. Wasn't thinking straight. Tyler, you never think straight, that's your brand. But seriously, are you okay? Like with all of this? The question hit me harder than I expected. Was I okay? I'd been so busy making jokes and showing off that I hadn't actually stopped to process what was happening to my body. These weren't just temporary changes that would disappear after a good night's sleep. The doctor had said to watch and wait, which meant nobody knew how long this would last or if it would get worse. Me honestly? Kinda scared. But don't tell anyone I said that. Tyler, your secret's safe with me, bro. Hey, I'm coming to your campus tomorrow. Let's grab lunch. We can talk about it if you want. Or we can just stuff our faces with burgers and pretend everything's normal. Me, burgers sound perfect. I set my phone down on my chest, which now had considerably more cushioning than it used to, and closed my eyes. The muffled sounds of Mikey and Dave's gaming session created a oddly comforting white noise. I could hear Liam's keyboard clicking with his characteristic steady rhythm. Probably working on some project that was due in 3 weeks but that he'd finish tonight, because that's just how he operated. Sleep came easier than I expected, dragging me under into dreams that were confusing and fragmented. I was back in high school, playing basketball, but every time I tried to make a shot, my chest got in the way. The ball kept bouncing off in weird directions while everyone in the stands pointed and laughed. Then suddenly I was in the cafeteria, and Liam was there, but he wasn't looking at me the way he usually did. His expression was different, softer, and when he reached out to touch my face, I woke up with a start. The room was dark except for the glow of Mikey's monitor. Dave must have finally passed out. My phone said it was 3:47 a.m. I could hear soft breathing from the other bunks, the peaceful sounds of my roommates deep in sleep. I shifted carefully, trying not to make the bed creak, and became acutely aware of the weight on my chest. In the darkness, I reached up tentatively, touching the curves that had appeared seemingly overnight. They were real, soft and warm and undeniably there. My fingers traced the unfamiliar contours, and that same strange electric sensation from when Liam had touched them shot through my body. I yanked my hand away like I'd been burned, my heart suddenly pounding in my chest. What the hell was that about? I rolled onto my side, pulling my blanket up to my chin like armor. The rational part of my brain knew I was just dealing with new nerve endings, new sensations in a body that was transforming in ways I didn't understand. But the irrational part, the part that was wide awake at 3:47 a.m. in a dark dorm room, couldn't stop replaying the moment when Liam's fingertips had brushed against my skin. The way his eyes had looked, intense and focused. The way my entire body had responded to that single, tentative touch. I'm straight. I whispered to myself in the darkness, like saying it out loud would make it true. This is just weird medical stuff messing with my head. But even as I said it, I couldn't shake the memory of Liam's cologne, the warmth of his body when he'd stepped close to me on the balcony, the genuine concern in his voice when he'd told me to protect myself. I must have eventually fallen back asleep because the next thing I knew, sunlight was streaming through the window, and Mikey was making his usual morning racket, searching for his phone charger in the disaster zone that was his side of the room. I sat up groggily, my hair sticking up in about 15 different directions. "Morning, sleeping beauty," Mikey called out cheerfully. "Dave's already at breakfast. You want me to grab you something?" "Nah, I'm good." I swung my legs over the side of the bunk, my feet dangling. Liam's bed was empty, perfectly made with hospital corners that would make a drill sergeant weep with joy. "Where's Liam?" "Early class. Dude left at like 7. Mikey finally located his charger tangled in his sheets and did a little victory dance. "Hey, about yesterday. I'm sorry if I was being a creep. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable or anything." I waved him off, dropping down from my bunk. "It's cool, man. I was the one being a dumbass, showing off like that." Liam set me straight. The unintentional pun made me wince internally, but Mikey didn't seem to notice. "Liam's good people," Mikey said, plugging in his phone. "Kinda scary sometimes, but good people. He actually came back in last night after you guys talked and had a whole conversation with me and Dave about privacy and being respectful. It was like getting lectured by a really hot professor." He paused. "Wait, did I just call Liam hot? I mean, objectively speaking, like from an aesthetic standpoint." "Mikey, you're babbling." "Right. Sorry. Anyway, point is we're cool. Your secret's safe with us. Dave even deleted some screenshots he took during our game session because they had you in the background, and Liam said we should eliminate any accidental documentation." Mikey looked genuinely proud of himself for using the phrase, accidental documentation. Something warm and unexpected bloomed in my chest. And not the physical chest I was trying not to think about. Liam had gone out of his way to protect my privacy, to make sure my idiot roommates understood the seriousness of the situation. He'd done that for me while I was passed out, completely unaware. I grabbed my shower caddy and a change of clothes, suddenly needing to do something with my hands. "Thanks for telling me, Mikey. I appreciate it." The communal bathroom was blissfully empty at this hour. Most people were either already in class or still sleeping off last night's adventures. I claimed a shower stall at the far end, hanging my towel on the hook and cranking the water to just below scalding. Steam filled the small space as I stripped off my clothes. For the first time, I let myself really look at my transformed body in the small mirror mounted on the wall. The steam had fogged it up partially, giving everything a dreamlike quality. My chest had definitely continued developing over the past week. The curves were more pronounced now, more feminine. I turned sideways, examining my profile, and felt a complicated mix of emotions twist in my gut. Confusion, fear, curiosity, and underneath it all, something I couldn't quite name. I stepped into the shower, letting the hot water pound against my shoulders and back. This body didn't feel like mine anymore. Every movement reminded me of the changes. The way my chest moved when I walked, the unfamiliar weight, the sensitivity of the new tissue. I'd always been comfortable in my skin, confident in my identity as a straight dude who played sports and hung with his brothers. But now I didn't know what the hell I was. The water started running cold by the time I finally emerged, wrapping myself in my towel with more care than usual. I got dressed quickly, opting for my baggiest hoodie and a compression shirt underneath that I'd borrowed from Tyler last year and never returned. It flattened things out somewhat, made me look more like my old self. I examined my reflection in the now clearing mirror and nodded. Better. More normal. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler confirming lunch at noon at our usual burger spot just off campus. That gave me a few hours to kill. I didn't have class until 2, which meant I could hit the library and actually get some studying done. Or more realistically, I could hit the library and scroll through social media while pretending to study. The campus was gorgeous in the late morning light. October had painted everything in shades of gold and amber, and the quad was dotted with students sprawled on blankets, soaking up the sunshine while they still could. A frisbee sailed past my head, followed by a golden retriever, who looked absolutely thrilled to be alive. Normal college stuff. Normal college life. I wondered how long it would stay normal once people found out about my condition. The library was my sanctuary, 3 floors of books, quiet study rooms, and most importantly, a coffee shop on the first floor that made decent lattes. I grabbed a large one and found an empty table near the window, spreading out my biology textbook and notebook with good intentions. 15 minutes later, I was deep in a Reddit thread about unusual medical conditions when someone dropped into the chair across from me. I looked up, expecting to see one of my buddies, and instead found myself face to face with Emma Chun from my Psych 101 class. Emma was cute in that effortless way some girls had, with her black hair always in a perfect messy bun, and her oversized glasses that made her look like a sexy librarian. We'd been lab partners last semester, and had maintained a casual friendship built on shared complaints about our workload and mutual appreciation for bad puns. "Hey stranger," she said, setting down her own coffee. "Haven't seen you around lately. You ghosting all your friends?" "Just been dealing with some stuff," I said vaguely, closing my laptop. "What's up with you?" "Oh, the usual. Drowning in assignments, questioning my major, wondering if I should just drop out and become a surf instructor in Bali." She grinned, taking a sip of her iced coffee. "Living the dream." We chatted for a while about nothing important. Upcoming exams, professor gossip, the terrible cafeteria food. It was nice, normal, the kind of casual interaction that reminded me I was still just a regular college student despite everything weird happening with my body. Emma didn't know about my condition, didn't look at me differently, didn't treat me like I was fragile or strange. "So listen," Emma said, leaning forward conspiratorially. "There's this party Friday night at the Sigma house. You should come. Bring your roommates. It's supposed to be pretty chill, not one of those crazy rages that ends with someone in the hospital." I hesitated. The old me would have said yes immediately, already planning what to wear and how much I could drink before I became an embarrassment. But now, the thought of being in a crowded house party, surrounded by drunk people with lowered inhibitions, made my skin crawl. All it would take was one person bumping into me, one accidental touch, and my secret would be out. "I'll think about it," I said, trying to keep my tone casual. "Got a lot going on right now." Emma studied me for a moment, her expression shifting from playful to concerned. "Jax, are you okay? You seem, I don't know, different lately. More withdrawn." "I'm fine," I said automatically, the lie coming easily after years of practice. "Just stressed about classes and stuff." She didn't look convinced, but she didn't push it either. That was one of the things I'd always appreciated about Emma. She knew when to back off. "Well, if you ever want to talk about whatever stuff you're dealing with, I'm around. We're friends, remember?" "Yeah, I remember. Thanks, Emma." She stood up, gathering her things. "Text me about Friday, okay? No pressure, but it would be cool to see you there." She paused, then added with a smirk, "Tyler will probably be there too. I know you two are basically married." I flipped her off good-naturedly, and she laughed, weaving her way through the tables toward the exit. I watched her go, feeling a weird pang of something that might have been loneliness. Emma was right. I had been withdrawing, pulling away from my normal social circles. But what choice did I have? Every interaction felt like a potential landmine now. My phone alarm went off, reminding me it was time to meet Tyler. I packed up my stuff and headed out, the compression shirt tight against my chest as I walked. The burger place was a 10-minute trek across campus, and I used the time to mentally prepare myself. Tyler had been my best friend since we were kids. If anyone deserved to know the full truth about what was happening to me, it was him. Tyler was already there when I arrived, claiming our usual booth in the back corner. He'd ordered for both of us, double bacon cheeseburgers with fries, our standard order since freshman year. He stood up when he saw me, pulling me into one of those brief, backslapping bro hugs that guys do. "Looking good, man," he said as we sat down. "Well, as good as you ever look." "Fuck you too, buddy." We fell into our usual rhythm of insults and jokes, the familiar banter putting me at ease. Tyler was one of those people who made everything feel simple just by existing. He was straightforward, honest, intensely loyal. When we were in 6th grade and Danny Morrison tried to steal my bike, Tyler had punched him in the face without hesitation. When Tyler's parents got divorced sophomore year of high school, I'd slept on his floor for 3 weeks straight, because he didn't want to be alone. We were brothers in everything but blood. "So," Tyler said after we'd demolished about half our burgers, "you want to talk about the elephant in the room? Or in this case the He gestured vaguely at my chest. "You can say it. The tits. The boobs. The fun bags. Jesus Christ, Jax." But he was laughing, and that made it easier. "Seriously though, how are you handling all this? That must be mindfuck central." I set down my burger, wiping my hands on a napkin. "Honestly, I'm freaking the fuck out. I keep trying to make jokes about it, like if I laugh about it then it's not scary. But it is scary. I wake up every morning and they're still there, and I don't know if they're going to keep growing or if one day they'll just disappear. The doctor doesn't know. Nobody knows." Tyler nodded, his expression serious. That's heavy, man. I'm sorry you're going through this. The worst part is feeling like I don't know who I am anymore. I continued, the words spilling out now that I'd started. Like, I've always been comfortable being a dude. I like being a guy. I like guy stuff. But now my body is changing in this feminine way, and it's making me question everything. Does this make me less of a man? Does it change my sexuality? What if it never goes away? Whoa, slow down. Tyler reached across the table, grabbing my shoulder. Listen to me. Your body is going through some weird medical thing, but that doesn't change who you are as a person. You're still Jax. You're still my best friend. You're still the same dude who ate an entire pizza by himself on a dare, and then threw up in my mom's hydrangeas. Despite everything, I laughed. God, I forgot about that. Your mom was so pissed. She banned you from the house for a month. Tyler grinned. Then his expression turned serious again. But for real, Jax, your identity, your sexuality, all of that, it's not determined by your physical body. It's about what's in here. He tapped his chest, right over his heart. And if this situation does end up making you realize things about yourself that you didn't know before, that's okay too. I'll still be your best friend, no matter what. I felt my throat get tight, emotion threatening to overwhelm me. Even if I turn out to be like, gay or something? Especially then. Though I gotta warn you, I'm not interested. You're not my type. He said it so deadpan that I burst out laughing, the tension breaking like a popped balloon. You're lost, Tyler. I'm a catch. Yeah, a catch of something, probably something contagious. We finished our burgers, the conversation drifting to safer topics. Tyler's classes, his brutal workout schedule, some drama in his fraternity involving a missing Xbox and 3 guys who all swore they didn't take it. Normal stuff. Easy stuff. As we were getting ready to leave, Tyler said casually, "Hey, so Emma invited me to that Sigma party on Friday. She mentioned you might come too. She asked me this morning." I don't know, man. The thought of being in a crowded party right now. I get it. But maybe it would be good for you? Just to do something normal, hang out with people. Remember that you're more than just this one thing happening to your body. He paused. I'll be there the whole time. If anyone gives you shit, if anything makes you uncomfortable, we leave immediately. No questions asked. I considered it. Part of me wanted to hide in my dorm room until this whole situation resolved itself. But Tyler had a point. I couldn't put my entire life on hold because of some medical weirdness. I was still a college student. I still deserved to have fun, to be young and stupid and make mistakes. Okay. I heard myself say, yeah, let's do it. But you're my designated bodyguard for the night. Deal. I'll bring my muscles. Tyler flexed dramatically, nearly knocking his empty cup off the table. We parted ways outside the burger place, Tyler heading back to his campus, and me dragging myself to my afternoon class. Economics, which was about as exciting as watching paint dry, but at least it gave me 2 hours to sit in the back and zone out while the professor droned on about supply and demand curves. My phone buzzed halfway through class. A text from Liam. Liam, need to talk to you when you get back. Nothing bad, just something to discuss. My stomach did a weird flip. Liam wasn't exactly the type to send cryptic texts. He was more of a say what you mean directly to someone's face kind of person. I spent the rest of the class trying not to obsess over what he might want to talk about, and failing miserably. When I finally got back to the dorm, Liam was at his desk as usual, but this time he had papers spread out in front of him, and his laptop open to what looked like medical journal articles. He looked up when I entered, his expression unreadable. Hey, I said, dropping my backpack on my bed. You wanted to talk? Yeah. Liam stood up, collecting the papers into a neat stack. I've been doing some research on your condition. Idiopathic hormonal disorders, specifically gynecomastia and related conditions. He handed me the stack of papers. I thought you might want to read through these. Some of them discuss treatment options, others talk about psychological impacts and coping strategies. I stared at the papers in my hands, completely blindsided. You spent time researching this? For me. Liam shrugged, but there was something in his eyes that made my chest tighten. You're my roommate. I wanted to understand what you're going through, see if there was anything that could help. He paused. There's also information about support groups. People who are going through similar situations. You don't have to deal with this alone, Jax. I didn't know what to say. Nobody had ever done something like this for me before. Sure, Tyler was supportive, but this was different. This was Liam taking time out of his perfectly organized schedule to research medical journals and find resources. All because he cared about what I was going through. Thank you. I managed finally, my voice rougher than I intended. This is fuck, man. This means a lot. It's nothing. But the faint color on his cheeks suggested it was definitely something. I set the papers down carefully on my desk, then turned back to Liam. He was watching me with that intense gaze of his, the one that always made me feel like he could see straight through to my core. The afternoon light coming through the window highlighted the sharp planes of his face, the strong line of his jaw, the subtle curve of his lips. Something electric passed between us in that moment. I couldn't name it, couldn't define it, but it was there, tangible and undeniable. My heart started pounding in my chest, loud enough that I was sure Liam could hear it. Liam, I started, not even sure what I was going to say. The door burst open and Dave tumbled in, breaking the moment like a hammer through glass. Guys, you will not believe what just happened in my chemistry lab. Professor Chong literally set his tie on fire trying to demonstrate combustion reactions. It was fucking epic. Dave continued his story, oblivious to the tension he'd just shattered, while Liam returned to his desk and I climbed onto my bunk, clutching the research papers like a lifeline. I tried to focus on Dave's animated reenactment of his professor's near-death experience, but my mind was still stuck on that moment with Liam. What the hell was that? That night, I actually read through the papers Liam had printed for me. Most of it was dense medical terminology that made my head hurt, but some articles were more accessible, written for patients rather than doctors. One article in particular caught my attention. A personal essay by someone who had experienced similar hormonal changes due to a pituitary tumor. The author wrote about feeling disconnected from their body, about struggling with their identity as their physical form changed in ways they couldn't control. But they also wrote about acceptance, about learning to separate their sense of self from their physical appearance, about finding peace with uncertainty. The body is just a vessel, they wrote in the conclusion. Who we are exists independent of flesh and bone. My body changed, but I remained fundamentally myself. The journey to accepting that truth was difficult, but it ultimately led me to a deeper understanding of my own identity. I read that passage 3 times, letting the words sink in. Maybe I had been approaching this all wrong. Maybe instead of fighting against these changes, instead of trying to make jokes or show them off or pretend they weren't happening, I needed to just accept them. Accept that my body was going through something weird. Accept that I didn't have all the answers. Accept that uncertainty was okay. It was a nice thought, at least in theory. In practice, acceptance seemed about as easy as climbing Mount Everest in flip-flops. The next few days passed in a strange blur. I went to classes, studied in the library, ate meals with my friends. On the surface, everything seemed normal. But underneath, I was hyper-aware of every glance, every casual touch, every moment where someone might notice the changes to my body. The compression shirt became my armor, worn religiously under baggy hoodies and loose t-shirts. Tyler checked in daily, sending me stupid memes and videos to make me laugh. Emma texted reminding me about the party. Liam maintained his usual routine, but I caught him watching me sometimes when he thought I wasn't looking, his expression thoughtful and concerned. And then Friday arrived, bringing with it a knot of anxiety in my stomach that no amount of deep breathing could untangle. You sure about this? Tyler asked when he picked me up that evening. He'd driven over from his campus, his beat-up Honda Civic blasting hip-hop loud enough to rattle the windows. No, but we're doing it anyway. I climbed into the passenger seat, adjusting my hoodie for the 100th time. I'd spent an embarrassing amount of time picking out my outfit: baggy jeans, compression shirt, oversized hoodie, nothing that would draw attention or cling to my new curves. The Sigma house was already packed when we arrived, music thumping through the walls and spilling out onto the lawn. Groups of people clustered on the porch, red cups in hand, laughing and shouting over the noise. It looked like every party I'd been to in my college career, and yet somehow it felt completely foreign. Remember, Tyler said as we approached the house, we leave the second you're uncomfortable. Just give me the signal. What signal? I don't know, tug your ear or something. Make something up. You're an idiot. Yeah, but I'm your idiot. Inside, the house was a sensory overload. Music pounding, people everywhere, the smell of spilled beer and someone's aggressive body spray mixing into an almost toxic cloud. Tyler stayed close, his solid presence at my back as we navigated through the crowd. A few people called out greetings, and I waved back, trying to project confidence I didn't feel. Emma found us in the kitchen, where we were attempting to pour drinks from a keg that was more foam than beer. She looked adorable in a crop top and high-waisted jeans, her hair down for once in loose waves. You made it. She pulled me into a quick hug, and I tried not to stiffen at the contact. I'm so glad you came. There's beer pong in the basement, flip cup in the dining room, and a bunch of people hanging out back by the fire pit. What's your poison? We'll start with the beer pong, Tyler decided, already steering us toward the basement stairs. Work our way up to the fire pit later when things get sloppy. The basement was packed with people crowded around 2 beer pong tables, cheering and heckling as balls bounced off cups and occasionally someone's forehead. The energy was infectious, and I felt some of my anxiety start to ease. This was familiar territory. I was good at beer pong. I could do this. Tyler and I claimed the next game, facing off against 2 guys from the lacrosse team, who were already clearly several drinks in. The game was close, both teams trading shots and trash talk in equal measure. I was lining up what would hopefully be the winning shot when someone bumped into me from behind, hard enough to send me stumbling forward. Shit, sorry dude. A drunk guy in a backwards baseball cap steadied me, his hands gripping my shoulders. One hand slipped, landing squarely on my chest. The world seemed to stop. His expression changed from apologetic to confused, his hand still there, still touching. I could see the moment realization dawned in his glassy eyes. Dude, are you? Tyler moved with the speed and precision of someone who'd spent years on the football field. He was between us in an instant, his hand gripping the drunk guy's wrist and removing it from my chest with controlled force. Watch where you're going, asshole. The guy stumbled back, hands up. Hey man, you were just leaving, Tyler said, his voice deadly calm. Right. The drunk guy looked between Tyler's intimidating frame and my frozen face, then decided discretion was the better part of valor. He mumbled something that might have been an apology and disappeared into the crowd. The moment he was gone, the panic hit me like a freight train. My chest was tight, my breathing shallow. The walls of the basement seemed to close in, the music too loud, too many people, too much everything. Out, I gasped. Tyler, I need out. He didn't ask questions, just grabbed my hand and pulled me through the crowd with the determination of a linebacker. We burst out of the basement and through the kitchen, ignoring Emma's confused questions, out the back door and into the relative quiet of the backyard. The night air hit my face like a slap, cold and sharp and exactly what I needed. Tyler guided me to a bench near the fire pit, far enough from the house that the music was just a muffled thump. I doubled over, hands on my knees, trying to remember how to breathe like a normal human being. That's it, just breathe, Tyler said, his hand rubbing circles on my back. In through your nose, out through your mouth. You're okay. You're safe. It took several minutes, but eventually my breathing evened out and the panic receded. I sat up, wiping my face with shaking hands. Fuck. I'm sorry, Tyler. We just got here, and I already ruined everything. Hey, no. You didn't ruin anything. Tyler sat down next to me, his shoulder pressed against mine. That was a shitty situation. That guy was a drunk asshole who didn't respect personal space. This isn't your fault. He felt them, I said quietly. He knows something's different about me. He was drunk as hell. By tomorrow morning, he won't even remember being at this party, let alone touching some random dude in the basement. Tyler squeezed my shoulder. And even if he does remember and starts talking, who cares? Let people talk. You haven't done anything wrong. Easy for you to say. You're not the one turning into a freak. Jax. Tyler's voice was sharp enough to make me look at him. Don't talk about yourself like that. You're not a freak. You're my best friend who's dealing with a difficult medical situation. There's a difference. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe that this didn't make me different, didn't make me less than. But sitting there in the cold October night, the sounds of the party continuing without us, I felt more isolated than I ever had in my life. I want to go home, I said finally. Not back to campus. Home. To my mom. Tyler nodded. Okay, let's get you home. The drive back to my childhood house took about 90 minutes. Tyler called my mom on the way, giving her some vague explanation about me being homesick and needing a visit. Mom, bless her, didn't ask questions, just said she'd have my room ready and maybe we could make my favorite breakfast in the morning. My parents' house looked exactly the same as it always had. A modest 2-story colonial with blue shutters and a front porch that was definitely tilting more than code probably allowed. The front light was on, and I could see Mom's silhouette in the window waiting. She opened the door before we even made it up the walkway, pulling me into a hug that smelled like lavender fabric softener and home. Baby, what's wrong? Tyler said you needed to come home right away. I buried my face in her shoulder, suddenly 12 years old again. Mom, something's happening to me. Something weird. We ended up in the kitchen, because that's where all important family conversations happened. Mom made hot chocolate from scratch while I sat at the familiar scarred wooden table, Tyler beside me for moral support. Dad was at a conference until tomorrow, which was probably for the best. I needed to tell Mom first, needed her gentle understanding before facing Dad's more analytical approach. Okay, Mom said, setting steaming mugs in front of us and sitting down. Talk to me, sweetheart. What's going on? So I told her everything. The doctor's appointment, the diagnosis of idiopathic hormonal chaos, the physical changes to my body. I told her about showing off to my friends, about Liam's concern and Tyler's support. I told her about the panic attack at the party, about feeling like I didn't know who I was anymore. Mom listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from concern to understanding. When I finally finished, she reached across the table and took my hands in hers. Oh honey, she said softly. That sounds incredibly difficult. I'm so sorry you've been dealing with this alone. I'm not alone. I have Tyler and Liam and my roommates. I squeezed her hands. But Mom, what if this doesn't go away? What if I'm stuck like this forever? What does that make me? It makes you my son, she said firmly. It makes you Jax. Your body might be changing, but you're still the same person I raised. The same person who gave me a heart attack when you were 7 and climbed onto the roof. The same person who cried during Up, even though you tried to hide it. Despite everything, I smiled. I was not crying during Up. Baby, you were sobbing. Tyler can confirm. It's true, Tyler said. You made me swear on my life I wouldn't tell anyone, but I think the statute of limitations has expired. Mom stood up and moved around the table, wrapping her arms around me from behind. Listen to me carefully, Jax. Whatever happens with your body, whatever changes occur, you are perfect exactly as you are. You don't need to have everything figured out right now. You don't need to know what this means for your identity or your future. You just need to take it one day at a time and know that you're loved unconditionally. I leaned back into her embrace, feeling some of the tension I'd been carrying for weeks finally start to ease. Thanks, Mom. That's what I'm here for. Now you and Tyler are staying the night. I'll make pancakes in the morning, and we can talk more if you want, or we can just watch terrible reality TV and pretend the outside world doesn't exist. Tyler and I ended up in my childhood bedroom, which Mom had preserved like a museum to my high school years. Posters of bands I'd been obsessed with, a shelf full of basketball trophies, photos of me and Tyler from various stages of our friendship tacked to a corkboard. Your mom is the best, Tyler said, sprawling across my bed like he'd done 1,000 times before. Seriously, can I get adopted? You're 20 years old, dude. I think that ship has sailed. We stayed up late, talking about everything and nothing. Tyler told me about a girl in his psychology class he was thinking about asking out. I told him about Emma and how I used to have kind of a crush on her freshman year, but never acted on it. We talked about our fears for the future, our dreams, our hopes that life would somehow work out despite feeling completely lost. And eventually, the conversation came back around to Liam. So, Tyler said casually, in a tone that was absolutely not casual. Liam did a lot of research for you, huh? That's pretty intense. Yeah. He's a good friend. Even to my own ears, the words sounded defensive. Aha. A good friend. Is that all? Tyler was watching me with that knowing look that only a best friend can pull off. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm asking directly. Do you have feelings for Liam? The question hung in the air between us. I could deny it, laugh it off, change the subject. But this was Tyler, and Tyler deserved honesty. I don't know, I admitted quietly. Maybe? I can't tell if it's actual feelings or if it's just because he's been so supportive through all this. He's always been good looking, but lately when I'm around him I feel different. My heart does weird things. I think about him when he's not there. Is that what having feelings for someone is like? Tyler was quiet for a moment. Jax, I'm gonna ask you something, and I want you to really think about the answer. If Liam was a girl, if everything about him was exactly the same but he was female, would you be asking yourself if you had feelings for her? I opened my mouth to answer, then closed it. Because the truth was, if Liam was a girl with the same personality, the same fierce protective streak, the same quiet intelligence and rare moments of warmth, I would have asked her out months ago. I would have known exactly what these feelings were without questioning them. Oh, I said softly. Oh shit. Yeah, Tyler said. Oh shit. We lay there in the darkness, the glow-in-the-dark stars on my ceiling. Mom had put those up when I was 10 and refused to take them down, casting a faint greenish light across the room. My entire understanding of myself was shifting, reforming into something new and unfamiliar. Tyler, I think I might not be as straight as I thought. Yeah, dude. I kind of picked up on that. When? When did you figure it out before I did? Tyler laughed. Man, probably around the time you spent 15 minutes describing how good Liam's cologne smells. Or maybe when you got weirdly jealous when that girl from his econ class asked him to study together. You've been giving off vibes for a while now. I grabbed a pillow and threw it at his face. Why didn't you say anything? Because it wasn't my place to tell you about yourself. You had to figure it out on your own. Tyler sat up, his expression serious in the dim light. So what are you gonna do about it? About what? About Liam, dumbass. Are you gonna tell him how you feel? The thought of actually confessing my feelings to Liam made my stomach drop like I was on a roller coaster. I don't know. What if he doesn't feel the same way? What if it makes things weird? We still have to live together for the rest of the year. True. But what if he does feel the same way? What if you could have something really special with him, but you're too scared to find out? I didn't have an answer to that. The next morning, Mom made pancakes as promised, chocolate chip with whipped cream, my favorite since I was 5. Dad got home around noon, and I went through the whole explanation again. He took it more analytically, asking questions about my treatment plan and long-term prognosis, but his hug afterward was just as warm as Mom's. Whatever you need, son, he said. We're here for you. Always. Tyler drove me back to campus Sunday afternoon. We didn't talk much on the drive, but it was a comfortable silence, the kind that only exists between people who've known each other forever. When he dropped me off in front of my dorm, he pulled me into a tight hug. Remember what we talked about, he said. About Liam. Life's too short to not take chances. Since when did you become a romantic philosopher? Since forever. You just never noticed. I laughed and grabbed my overnight bag from the back seat. Thanks, Tyler. For everything. You're the best friend a confused, possibly bisexual dude with mysterious chest growth could ask for. That's going on my resume. See you next week. Yeah. Stay out of trouble. No premises. Back in my dorm room, everything was exactly as I'd left it. Mikey's side a disaster zone, Dave's area covered in textbooks and energy drink cans, Liam's space immaculate and organized. The man himself was at his desk, as usual, but he turned when I entered. Jax, you're back. There was something in his voice, relief maybe or concern. Tyler texted me that you went home for the weekend. Is everything okay? I dropped my bag on my bed and turned to face him. In the afternoon light streaming through the window, he looked almost ethereal. Perfect features, perfect posture, perfectly composed. And suddenly, I knew Tyler was right. Life was too short not to take chances. Actually, I need to talk to you about something. Can we go somewhere private? Liam stood immediately, grabbing his keys. Let's go to the study room on the 3rd floor. It's usually empty on Sunday afternoons. The small study room was indeed empty, just a table and some chairs and a whiteboard covered in half-erased calculus equations. Liam closed the door behind us and leaned against it, watching me with those intense eyes that always made me feel transparent. What's going on, Jax? You're making me nervous. I laughed, but it came out shaky. Yeah, join the club. I'm nervous too. I took a deep breath, running my hands through my hair. Okay, I'm just going to say this because if I think about it too much, I'll chicken out. Okay. I have feelings for you. Like romantic feelings. I know that probably comes out of nowhere, and I know it might make things weird since we're roommates, but I spent this weekend really thinking about who I am and what I want, and I realized that I want. I don't know, I want to see if there could be something between us. More than just friends. And I totally understand if you don't feel the same way, or if this is too weird, or if. Jax. Liam pushed off from the door, crossing the small space between us in 2 strides. Shut up for a second. I'm just trying to. He kissed me. Liam's lips pressed against mine, soft but insistent, and every thought in my brain short-circuited. This was nothing like the few kisses I'd shared with girls in high school, clumsy and uncertain, and always vaguely disappointing. This was fire and electricity and coming home all at once. I kissed him back, my hands coming up to grip his shoulders, and Liam made a soft sound in the back of his throat that sent shivers down my spine. His hands cupped my face gently, like I was something precious, something worth handling with care. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Liam rested his forehead against mine. I've wanted to do that for 3 months, he said softly. Ever since you came into the room soaking wet after getting caught in that rainstorm, and started cursing out the weather like it had personally offended you. I laughed, breathless and dizzy and happier than I'd felt in weeks. That's a weird moment to realize you like someone. You were completely ridiculous and absolutely beautiful. How could I not? Liam pulled back slightly, his eyes searching my face. But Jax, I need you to be sure about this. You're going through a lot right now with your body changing. I don't want you to confuse gratitude for support with romantic feelings. I need to know this is real for you. It's real, I said firmly. I'm still figuring out a lot about myself, my sexuality, my identity, what all these changes mean. But what I feel for you, that's not confusion. That's not gratitude. That's just you. Who you are, how you make me feel. I like you, Liam. A lot. The smile that spread across Liam's face was worth every moment of anxiety and fear. I like you too, Jax. A lot. We stood there in the study room, grinning at each other like idiots, until Liam glanced at his watch and cursed. I have to get to my study group in 15 minutes. But can we talk more tonight? Properly talk about what this means, what we both want. Yeah, definitely. Tonight. He kissed me again, quick and sweet, then headed for the door. At the threshold, he paused and looked back. Jax, for what it's worth, I think you're incredibly brave. Going through what you're going through and still having the courage to be vulnerable, to take chances on feeling things, that takes real strength. After he left, I sank into one of the chairs, touching my lips and trying to process what had just happened. I'd come out to my parents, admitted my feelings to my best friend, and kissed the guy I'd been falling for. In the span of one weekend, my entire life had transformed. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Tyler, well, did you talk to him? Me better. I kissed him. Well, he kissed me, but I kissed him back. Tyler, fuck yes. I knew it. Tell me everything immediately. Me tomorrow. Pizza and details, I promise. Tyler, you better. I'm so proud of you, man. Emma. Tyler just told me you and Liam are together? I'm screaming. You two are going to be so cute. Apparently Tyler had no concept of keeping secrets, but I couldn't bring myself to care. I sent Emma a thumbs up and headed back to my room. The next few weeks passed in a blur of new experiences. Liam and I took things slow, figuring out what it meant to be together while still living in the same space. We kept our relationship private at first, not because we were ashamed, but because it was new and precious and we wanted to protect it. My body continued changing, but I was learning to accept it. The compression shirt stayed, more for my own comfort than to hide anything. I joined an online support group for people with hormonal conditions, and hearing other stories helped me feel less alone. Tyler and Emma became couples best friends, always trying to set up double dates despite Tyler still being single. Mikey and Dave were surprisingly supportive once we told them about me and Liam, with Mikey giving me an hour-long lecture about safe dating practices that was both mortifying and oddly sweet. Dr. Chun, my physician, started me on a treatment plan that might help stabilize my hormones. She was cautiously optimistic that the changes might eventually reverse, but even if they didn't, I was learning to be okay with that. One night, about a month after that first kiss, Liam and I were lying on his bed, tangled together in the way of new couples who couldn't quite believe their luck. His fingers traced lazy patterns on my arm while I rested my head on his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. What are you thinking about? He asked softly. Just how different everything is now compared to a few months ago. How scared I was when all this started, and how now I'm actually happy, like genuinely happy, despite everything being weird and uncertain. Liam pressed a kiss to the top of my head. I'm happy too. Happier than I've been in a long time. Even though your boyfriend has mysterious chest growth and an identity crisis? Especially because of that. It means I get to be here for you, support you, watch you grow into whoever you're meant to be. That's a privilege, Jax. I tilted my head up to look at him. How did I get so lucky to end up with you as a roommate? Pretty sure it was random housing assignment, actually. But I like to think the universe knew what it was doing. The universe is pretty smart sometimes. Sometimes, he agreed, and kissed me again, soft and sweet and perfect. Later that night, after Liam had fallen asleep and the dorm had quieted down, I lay awake thinking about everything that had happened. My body might still be changing in ways I didn't fully understand. My identity might still be evolving, still forming into something I couldn't quite name yet. The future was uncertain, full of questions without answers. But lying there in the dark, Liam's arm draped over my waist, my friends just a text away, my family's unconditional love a phone call distant. I realized that maybe certainty wasn't the point. Maybe the point was learning to be okay with not knowing, with letting things unfold naturally, with accepting that change wasn't always bad. Maybe the point was just being brave enough to keep showing up, keep being honest, keep taking chances on connection and vulnerability and love. I thought about the version of myself from 2 months ago. The one who'd climbed into Liam's bunk to show off his awesome chest development, completely oblivious to how that moment would change everything. That Jax had been so certain of who he was, so convinced he had everything figured out. I didn't have everything figured out now. I probably never would. But I had something better. I had people who loved me regardless, who supported me through the confusion, who reminded me that being uncertain didn't mean being lost. My phone lit up on the bedside table. A text from my mom. Mom, just thinking about you, sweetheart. Hope you're doing well. Remember, you're loved exactly as you are. I smiled in the darkness and typed back. Me love you too, Mom. I'm doing good. Really good. And for the first time in weeks, it wasn't a lie. 3 months later, spring had transformed campus into something from a postcard. Trees blooming with pink and white flowers, students sprawled on the quad in shorts and tank tops, the energy of approaching summer break making everyone a little wild and reckless. I sat on a bench near the library, waiting for Liam to finish his last class of the day. My phone buzzed with the group chat that had become a daily source of entertainment and occasional chaos.